George, the term toxins and things being safe or unsafe gets bandied around quite a lot. But I think underneath it, I think, funny as this is going to sound, I think it can get quite confusing for people.
Definitely, there are extremes that I've noticed, and I'm confused, to be honest. So I was hoping we could discuss what is it about toxins in so many foods and even medications that people protest and are worried, and we see side effects and things, but why aren't we more clever and clearer about these things?
Pretty much everything, there's going to be a safe level, and there's going to be a level where it's unsafe. We all need water. I mean, we've got a glass here of water to drink. Too much water out in the ocean, you're going to drown. So, and we know that oxygen is vital for life. If we breathe it in, there's 20% in the atmosphere, but we also know that 100% oxygen is not healthy either. So we've got two of the most life-sustaining elements, I suppose. Water is technically not an element, but too much is a problem.
Yes, and too little is a problem.
Yeah. You've probably heard of Botox. A lot of people use it for a variety of reasons. It's actually one of the most lethal poisons on the planet. And people have it injected into them to paralyse the muscles. If you have too much of it, it's going to paralyse all of you and you'll be dead. But there is a level where it can be used. People can argue the rights or wrongs of that. I don't want to go there. So when we hear people talk about certain things being toxic or things being safe, generally speaking, we're talking about at a particular level. So, for example, with foods, people will say, people say, the government said we can eat this, must be safe. And other things where people are saying, this is dangerous, how can it be allowed, it's toxic, may well be that in certain other levels it's going to be quite okay. So the problem we have is this all or none phenomena.
Yes.
Chemotherapy, if you have cancer, necessarily is toxic to the cancer and can cause significant side effects. But again, there is a dose that is appropriate. Ordinary paracetamol, you have a headache and you take a couple, it's fine. If you take too much, it can also be quite toxic.
So I want to ask you
Very
this.
toxic, in fact.
Each individual, they're not aware of how much their toxicity in their own body of these different toxins. They don't know the levels that they're at.
Yeah.
I mean, there are symptoms, but we get sick and we're not often looking at what's really causing it at the toxicity level, are we? So I'm now wanting to ask you about tipping points.
Yeah.
Like one person can take one toxin, the other person takes it, and then two people have different reactions.
Maybe, George, terminology is a problem.
Yeah.
Not potentially everything can be toxic if it's too much. Everything, there's likely a safe level for pretty much everything on the planet.
Yeah.
Maybe what we really want to be, and we can't measure everything in our bodies. We do drained of blood testing for all of these things, and neither do we need to. Maybe we need to turn it around, and rather than getting concerned about substances, we need to pull it back to, what's going on with our health. Things like cleansers have become very popular, but it's a little bit of a misnomer, because when people go on cleansers, they generally cut out a lot of processed and packaged foods, they drink water, they go onto fruits and vegetables. It's not so much that it's cleansing stuff out of your system, it's more you're just not putting stuff into your system that you probably don't really need. So maybe we need to sort of tip this whole concept on its head and say, if we focus on being healthy, rather than trying to avoid a whole lot of products and substances, if we focus on what do we want to put into our bodies, what do we need to put in our bodies, comes back to the very basics, which is good quality proteins, good quality fats, some fruits and vegetables, drinking mainly water. If we do that and we're not putting in a lot of additives, we're not putting in a lot of preservatives, we're not only taking medications if we genuinely need them, then we're probably not going to have to worry that much about toxicity.
Gotcha. So what I've come to understand is that we've got impurities in the air, we've got impurities in things we're digesting, especially if you're going down the route of things that are processed, right?
Yep.
But your body can only detox in its natural everyday processing. It does that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it can only handle so much. So if you're overwhelming it, you're going to put yourself out of balance.
Which comes back to, we don't need to detox if we don't tox, if you like, in the first place. And that is about pulling it back to the basics of what we're putting into our system.
And having lifestyle choices that maintain that balance.
Very much so.
We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like Healthy Minded, please subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and share with your friends. Please put comments below whether you agree, disagree, if you've got topics you'd like for the future. And until next time, stay healthy minded.